Hello, this is Malorian, and this is Orc Tactical Team. I'm back from Italy, got the nice tan going. My glasses are a mess, so I'm wearing these old ones. But we're going to go back now, and because of that last video I did where I said, hey, give me some suggestions, I have a whole bunch of ones to be touching on. So the first one here is he asked, if you were to work off the Orc Battalion, what would you do? And so of course there's different ways to look at this. You might be getting the Orc Battalion if you're a new player, so this is how you're starting, or it could be you're a current player and you're getting this to add to your current army. Now, the first thing that's unfortunate with this first battalion that they have for Orcs and Goblins right now is that it's kind of garbage, unfortunately. Whatever conspiracy theory you want behind it, but really when you look at it, you get 20 goblins when really what you probably want is night goblins. You get 15 orcs when really what you want is savage orcs. You have the spiders, 10 of them, when really what you want is wolf riders because they're cheaper. And then you also got boar boys, which is just unnecessary. You know, cavalry, especially with not a high armor save and that's not reliable, you can raise up with magic and stuff, doesn't really find its way into 8th edition. So really, if you had to take this and you're going to be starting out, and really the big thing is, you know what, it's not really that bad. If you're starting with this battalion, even though I start off talking kind of negative here, as a new player, it has everything in there that you need to start getting into the army, learn it, and then move on from there, or just say, screw internet lists, I'm going to go with this anyway. So let's look at the first unit there, the goblins. Now, of course, out of all the stuff you have there, this is what you're going to be having as your rank and file unit. The one that's going to be giving you ranks, the one that's going to be using with combination with something else in order to break a big unit. One does the ranks to take away steadfast, the other one gets the kills, or just to throw into a monster or something just to hold it up. So really, this unit's going to be defensive. And so right now, what regular goblins come with is just a hand weapon and light armor, which isn't too bad. And so probably what you want to do to try and work with that is just give them a shield. You're going to be paying a half point for that, but now they have a nice 5+ save, they have the parry, and they're still fairly cheap and going to do what you need them to do. If you're going to look at what command to give them, especially if you're just starting off, you might want to put the banner in there because that's where you want to have your res, and really I probably wouldn't give them anything else apart from that. You're done with the banner. Now, the next one we're going to be talking about is the orcs. Now, we already have our unit that's going to be kind of our anvil that's going to be taking this on. So now we need a couple of hammers in there. And so really what you want to give them is set them up with the 2 hand weapons. They're not savage orcs, they're not going to be as good as with that extra attack, but that's the best offensive way to be setting up this unit. So 2 hand weapons, I'd even pay for the upgrade to make them biggins. As far as upgrades go, you probably don't need to give them anything whatsoever, because they're probably going to be working in combination with the goblins, but if you really want to, you can give them a banner too. Nothing against that, it can work just fine. When it comes to spiders, you got the 10 of them. I break them up into 2 units of 5, no command whatsoever. These are guys you're going to have there just to run around, get to war machines, get in the way of units, bog them down, and then maybe with these other hammers you have, try and set up these charges the way that you want it to be. Or, if nothing else, standing in front of your units to give them covers, a modifier as you're moving up. Not a bad thing whatsoever. You know, you got these expensive orcs, these biggins, and you don't want them just being blasted. Well, they can be followed up with these spiders in front to give them that cover save, and then when it really comes down to it, they can zip up and go and set up to make sure you get the charges you want. So, no upgrades, no command, just 2 units of 5, you're done right there. Finally, you're going to be having your boar boys, and these is where I think I'd go and pretty much pay the points to make them worthwhile. They're not savages, they're not immune to psych. You want to make sure that they're not going to take too many losses from shooting and have to take leadership tests. So I'd pay from the shields, and because these are the guys you're going to be wanting to come in and do a lot of damage, I think that in this case, with this sort of the battalion, I'd pay for the spears as well, just to make sure we got that really good punch. And from this, I mean, with a couple of banners, or probably just the one banner, you can get in an Orc Big Boss to be your general, and you get a 500 point army right there. You're done. Now, the way that I usually look at battalions is that I think that a lot of times they're designed to be taken in pairs. So what that means is that one's nice and it can get you into the game and learning it, but a lot of the units don't really come into their own until you double them up. So if you're now to take this, add another battalion to it, well then all of a sudden you got 40 goblins, which can really do their job a lot better. You know, all of a sudden you don't have to be worrying about any steadfast unless somebody went crazy, and you just have enough of them to get the job done. If you want to bog down something that's super nasty, this will hold them down for pretty much the whole game. For your orcs, all of a sudden you have 30 of them. Now you have a horde formation, whereas before you probably would have been deploying them 6 or 7 wide, depending on the situation. Now, boom, you got this horde that can really go out there and do a lot of damage. For your spiders, we're still just going with as small as possible. We're going with 4 units of 5. And even though that might seem excessive, and it kind of is, but, well, you know, it's not a bad thing. They'd be going off, and you got now the ones that can go for the war machines, while others can go and do the whole bogging and baiting and all this, right? So they can be doing all the same things at once, rather than instead having to decide, like, geez, do I really need them in the center or sneaking around? At least you have them to be all over the place. The boar boys, you're just going to be doubling up, and now you can have it so you have 1 unit on every single flank, and off you go. And then for the extra points, you can now get a little bit of gear on your one boss and take a cheap shaman, or just put a fireball ring on. That's what I like doing in small 1,000 point games. You don't need to go fancy. If you really want to, you're not going to have a bunker, so I'd rather just get like an enchanted shield and the fireball ring. You're good to go. You don't really need much more past that. So there's that. If you're a new player coming in, that's the way that I would start with that battalion. Of course, where do you go from there after is I would really suggest, of course, going to try and get the old starter box, not the really old ones that has like orcs with the 2-hand weapons and with our boys, but the one paired with the dwarves that has all the night goblins you need, has the single dwarves, single troll, sorry, and it's just a fantastic one to have. And they're out there on eBay, you can find them. Another thing you can do is, of course, all these things can be converted as well. With all the stuff that you have from the bits and the pieces, theoretically you could be piecing these things together to start making your orcs look like black orcs. I mean, sure, the actual GW kit is completely encased in armor, but really when you actually look at the rules, it's only supposed to be heavy armor. And so if you look at some of the stuff that they have that can go onto the boar boys, if you start mixing some of that stuff into your orcs, and especially get all those helmets on and stuff like that, you can start making a real good case for saying that they are your black orcs, if you're wanting to try and have another unit like that. As well, you can also just paint tattoos on them. Hey, look, I'm regular orcs, I get tattoos painted on me, all of a sudden I'm savage orcs. So you can be converting things up this way. Past this, trying to do things with the spider riders, you're kind of stuck there. I mean, you can try and you're going to be having so many of these things. If you're really good at plastic card, you can start making up chariots and stuff like that. But then you're starting to get really into proxies, and depending on your group, I really don't know how far you're going to be getting away with this. You can be trying to set up other things where if you're going to be having a whole bunch of these spider riders, you can start saying that, okay, I'm going to start taking them as ranks from your boar boys, start saying that these aren't boar boys, these are orc big bosses on boars, which I'll have as my front rank for all the spiders, and all of a sudden I got really hitting hard, I got all the ranks, and I can be breaking massive units. That's something else you can be doing with when you start combining them with the 2 battalions, or even just the single one. I mean, although that'd be kind of crazy at the low points. Going past this, let's say that you're an orc player that's already kind of started, you've been playing for a few years, you have the units that you usually play with, and all of a sudden for Christmas or your birthday, you get given a battalion. Well, you know, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's like I said, it's not ace stuff, but you know what, you can still be doing lots with this. So what I'd be doing then is, whereas before, the goblins, we were saying we would just want to go with the shields just to keep them nice and cheap, they're going to be doing this duty here. Well, all of a sudden, if you had them as an already experienced Orc and Goblin player that already has Night Goblins, these guys can fill in now a different role. They might now be your assassins. So now you can be converting up other models to be your skulkers, and these guys can just be going really in there to be going after characters, getting in the way, and just holding stuff up. A nice little thing I've heard you can do with goblins is, of course, if you give them bows, they're going to be getting the shootings, to be taking down fast cav and stuff like that, and if you give them shields, they're also going to be getting the parry. So it's a good way to have a unit that can be defensive and as well be able to shoot down fast cav and all your opponent's throwaway units, so they can clear the way for your own guys. And then if they ever try dedicating to you, then skulkers jump out and they can do some nasty stuff. So it's something there you can be throwing in. It might not always be in all your tournament lists, but it's something you can use. Orcs, if you have these, you're probably going to be also owning Savage Orcs at these points. Take the bows that you had from the sprues from your Savage Orcs, use them on these regular Orcs, and turn them into RR boys. And I've talked about these before. You know, units them a 30 on the flank, so you get the horde formation. Really locks down the flank because they got all those shots to be shooting any little small thing that might be coming through. And in the end, if you have to get into combat, you're still Orcs, and you're going to have 30 strength 4 attacks. So they're fairly solid. As far as the spiders go, if you're an experienced Orc player, you probably have tons of these spiders already. So yeah, I mean, then it's conversion time if you want to start looking into doing those chariots or whatever you also want to do. Or hey, you might want to go for the special character and start playing with the idea that, all right, I got a horde of spiders coming from your rear. What are you going to do, right? So you can start doing stuff like that. But out of all of it, that's probably going to be the most useless. Apart from that, the only thing you have left is the boar boys. You might not have that as an experienced player already, so now you will have them, and at that point you can really play around with the gear a lot more. I would say that you always want the shields. Maybe the spears are optional. I mean, if you just want them something that's going to be clearing down a flank and then getting to war machines, you don't really need to have spears on them all the time, so you can be saving those 10 points to be putting somewhere else. And that's pretty much it. Or you might just be using them to convert into characters. A lot of times that's what this stuff will be. You know, going back to the spiders, what some people will do with them is take the spiders, toss them pretty much, and just say, all right, this is now my goblin. And you can get more goblins that way just by using just the guy on top. There's actually people out there that run just forced goblin armies, and they're looking for that. So again, like I said, looking on eBay where you're trying to find people selling the old starter set, there'll be people out there looking for, they don't care about the spider, they just want the rider so that they can make their forced goblin themed force. So there you go. That's what I would do if you get a battalion, either as a new player or as an experienced one. And yeah, for the person that posts this, I hope you have a lot of fun. And if you have any other questions or want to know where to go from this, just let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.